Haslin, Aaron Burmeister came in just after 4 this afternoon, and many people say in Unalakleet, that's where the race really starts to shape in regards to its leaderboard. It's 60.5 feet from the pitcher's mound to home plate, and these days high school pitchers are getting there faster than ever before. It's an impressive feat, and it's a testament to the present-day athlete, but many medical professionals say it could be a problem for the pitcher's future if it's not managed correctly. Good morning, David and Ariane. He is a back-to-back winner, just like David said, the 3rd title under his belt. Now, last year was an interesting situation where Jeff King was ahead, just like Dallas was this year.
You know, David and Ariane, it is not as cold or as windy, so we're out here in Unalakleet, and there are 2 international mushers who are vying for that top spot. Canadian Jason Campo and Norwegian Thomas Varner, both of which we caught up with on the trail.
Good evening. Alaska State Troopers say 1 man is dead and another critically injured. A Talkeetna man reportedly called 911 this morning saying he had killed someone. Nikki Carvajal was in Talkeetna today and has the latest. Good evening. Yesterday, Governor Walker asked Fish and Game to revisit its plan to put down a family of 5 black bears that have made a habit of dining on trash in Anchorage's Government Hill neighborhood. Instead, the governor has asked the state to look into relocating the mother and her 4 cubs. Channel 2's Nikki Carvajal is live from Government Hill and has a story on what's next for the Bruin family. Good evening, Nikki. Good evening. It's been years of waiting, wondering, and worrying, but finally, good news for the family of a Fort Richardson-based soldier who had been held prisoner by the Taliban. He's safe and he is coming home. Bo Bergdahl deployed with the 425 to Afghanistan in 2009 to support Operation Enduring Freedom. But when the 425 returned to Alaska, Bergdahl remained behind, a prisoner of the Taliban until today.
Okay, so it is wedding week and brides are only half the equation when it comes to a wedding, and we've been focusing a lot on the ladies, which isn't entirely fair, and that's where this guy, Garrett Turner, comes in.
Yes, I'm probably the male voice on the show, and with that comes a little bit of responsibility to give this our perspective on this whole wedding thing. So one of the first questions people ask, I got engaged. Well, what is one of the first questions?
How did he propose?
Exactly. Well, it's a story on itself. Many times there's weeks of planning, but there are other times it's just one of those things where you kind of hold the ring into your pocket, you know, even in your coat, and it's just burning a hole. And then that perfect time comes, and you just ask the question. Well, I hit the streets to find out how some of our Alaskan men pop the question. You're a mean one.
Welcome back.
Sorry, just a little Christmas in July. We were just singing, and I got caught on camera.
You know what? That is good. That is good. That's what happens.
You know what we do in break is usually between us, but hey.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I am liking that. You 3 are just too darn cute. So
we love the compliments, and that's for sure.
We do, and I would like to point out that the photo is twisted. I'm not actually draping myself completely across Garrett. Not that I haven't, but just not now.
He's a lucky guy, I'm telling you.
We're on camera, Tracy. Well, I'll tell you what, my wife always hides our valuables under like mats or anything. Not from me.
In the car,
I get to have things. I'm allowed to have things.
You are.
It's a new thing. All right. I just
You're
been
showing
able.
responsibility,
My leash has been extended just a little bit. So
right.
now I get to have things. It's been a month in the process. I get to have new things. But no.
Yeah.
She hides the valuables so people don't see them and steal them. 25 years later, out here on the Prince William Sound, the views look great. But much of the concern lies within the ocean's ecosystem and with the wildlife whose lives depend on it.
In their own right, each of the CVs, Dan, also Mitch, also Dallas, they have their own reputation and legends sort of to uphold, but it's also part of one family, Garrett. Can you tell us a little bit more about them?
It is. We were able to catch up with the CVs after a post-race breakfast to catch a glimpse of a legend built by the first CV Iditarod musher, Dan. Dan CV is a father to Mitch, a grandfather to Dallas. He mushed in the first Iditarod ever in 1973, and the rest have made history.
We're Idita nerds, there's no question about that.
A family-given title for the CVs, who become the first son and father combo to go first and second in Iditarod history.
It's not that hard to do when you understand the race as well as Dallas does, and I think I do. We've we've studied out every scenario before we ever start the race.
I talk to him about mushing more than anything else, and I probably talk to him more than just about anybody, you know. Anytime we're out mushing, I'm always on the phone talking kind of philosophy or theory. So we share ideas, at least the ones that, not the really good ideas, we keep those for ourselves, of course.
For Dallas and Mitch, their competitive nature is fierce, but the rivalry is based on one thing.
Our family. And it just so happens that we're kind of hooked, hung up on dog mushing.
As far as giving the CV reign a dominant title, the family will have none of that.
Dynasty is kind of a strong word, isn't it?
A dynasty implies royalty, right? And certainly we're just people.
That's a real powerful word. I think it's fair to say we're all doing the best we can at what we do, that we love to do.
When it comes to the future for the CVs, 1985 champ Libby Riddle said Dallas may win 10 Iditarods, and the CVs aren't going to disagree.
Dallas could win 10. Dallas has the makings of a champion through and through.
Considering he's, 27 or so, you know, I think 37, that's not real old in mushing anymore. Certainly 47, and his dad just proved that almost 57 isn't too old to be a champion. So I would have to agree with her.
But it's not going to be easy.
The wolves are breathing at the door, so to speak.
The CV's dogs were resting at the Burled Arch early Wednesday morning, led by 2 champions, 2 Idita nerds, and 1 family.
Mitch's father, Dallas's grandfather, Dan Seavey, talked about how those two got hooked on mushing in the first place. Dan said he used to take Mitch out on long runs and camp overnight and spend a lot of time with Mitch. He said after Dallas was born, he guessed Dallas must have caught up on what his dad, Mitch, loves, and boy, did he ever.
So where are we going? Going to the Iditarod Trail Committee.
In his truck, days before the Iditarod, former U.S. Army Captain Steve Watkins gets real about his Iditarod journey.
Certain aspects of the sport are a little chaotic, and in that sense, it's similar to soldiering, and it's the management of chaos, and in conflict environments, it's the management of violence, and I think that's a draw for me. I love that, frankly.
But to be where Watkins is at this time of his life, at peace with a sense of purpose, getting there wasn't easy.
It's hard to come back from a conflict environment to what feels like nothing. Feels like kind of this bland life. And mushing has filled the gap so well, I feel. You know, I guess when you come back from a conflict environment, there's so much you no longer have. You don't have as much of a sense of purpose, a historic challenge that you're a part of. You've lost a lot of friends. You've lost a lot of identity. And you've lost a lot of simplicity to your life.
As if a tour in Afghanistan in any way can resemble a simple life.
So if I can inspire some staff sergeant to get out of bed, then I'll take it. That's sad, you know, because veterans don't want to be coddled. Veterans don't want to hear in some hushed therapeutic tone, you're okay, and or it's, you know, tell us your problems. They don't want that. They want to be inspired, challenged, led. And that's how they get their lives back on track.
For Watkins, it's getting on a path, one that allows you to live after war. It's that goal Watkins will focus on from Fairbanks to Nome.
I'll say this. It is hard to get out of bed in the morning if all you have to look forward to is reruns of Mork and Mindy. But if you've internalized a massive challenge, getting out of bed becomes the easiest part of your day. And you're motivated to charge ahead. Yeah.
It's quite different if you look at it that way.
Yeah, that's what I feel. I feel that and think about that when I'm running dogs. So it's more significant than I am. Just like the wars, just like the units I belonged in and served with.
For that reason, Watkins will mush to complete the last great race in hopes veterans will take their first step. America's pastime is enjoyed by more than 300 high schoolers in the state of Alaska. And these days, the present-day athlete can perform like never before. It's the unmatched velocity and power that separates this generation of high school pitchers from those who have come before them. It can be impressive and fun to watch, but if it's not managed correctly, it can lead to future problems.
We have poor mechanics, we have too many pitches from a young age going on, and we have increased velocity.
This 2014 Major League Baseball season is on record pace for the number of pitchers who have been forced to have season-ending surgery.
For as much conditioning and preparation that they put in at that level, to see that kind of injuries is surprising.
The Alaska Baseball League has also seen a rise. Lynn Young, the trainer for the Anchorage Bucks, says it's now up to at least 2 pitchers a year whose injuries force them to have Tommy John surgery. The operation replaces the ulnar collateral ligament, or UCL. This ligament stabilizes the elbow's range of motion, and it's the excessive stress put on this ligament that can cause it to fatigue or tear. During the Tommy John surgery, the UCL is replaced with a tendon from a different part of the body.
Success rate is really good, probably 85 to 90%.
During the high school season, Alaska follows the National High School Federation's rules, which limits the pitcher's innings instead of the number of pitches.
If you adhere to these preventative measures, we can hopefully decrease the need for Tommy John.
I think it's the best way to do it. Limiting pitches, that's way too much for micromanaging, and it's up to the head coach to kind of manage his pitchers so that they're not overthrown.
Other coaches prefer the pitch count approach.
You can have one kid that throws 5 innings and throws 110 pitches, and then another game he can throw 5 innings and he can throw 60 pitches if he's very effective. Pretty much all of our pitching or our coaches back in Juneau adopted to that pitch count philosophy and have seen some pretty positive results.
Everyone can agree on this. The goal for the high school pitcher is to work hard and get results safely and in a way that keeps the future within striking distance. I'm Garrett Turner, Channel 2 News. Good evening and welcome to sports. We start with the World Cup. What you've been watching these past weeks is the future when it comes to football. Now, not the American version, which begins in 67 days. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I can hardly sit here and talk about soccer, but I digress. This summer has brought you the future of the original version of excitement with a ball and 2 feet. To say it's delivered, well, that's just not doing it justice. We've had bundles of scoring, tremendous suspense, and soccer fans correcting sports broadcasters like it's their job. It's not a field, it's a pitch, screams soccer fan. Now, here in Anchorage, hundreds of people have watched their beloved USA national team make it to the knockout stage. It's been an uprising of fandom in the 49th state. This is sports at its best, bringing people together, setting aside differences and cheering for a common goal. And oh yeah, this World Cup has had tons of those. Now we've raced towards the knockout stage where players become kings of their country and goals become a story that lasts forever. Let's get to the highlights. It's Mexico versus the Netherlands, or what many call the Orange. No, not orange, which is spelled with a G, but the Orange with a J. Now here in the 48th minute, Giovanni Dos Santos with the control and the belt. Goalie misses, Mexico up 1-0. Now it stays that way deep into the match, but here's the 88th minute with the Orange having a set play here. Wesley Sneijder will get the rebound. Boom, Orange crush. Drilling hope in for the Dutch. Mexico stunned, never saw it, all tied up. So extra time is the main thought here, but Arjen Robben has different plans of his own. Some controversy here. Robben, savvy move to goal line, dives for glory, and then a penalty is called. Judge for yourself, a little embellishment, but nonetheless, the Dutch get the penalty kick and a chance for the comeback of the ages. Strike! There it is, the Dutch on to the next round. Now, with what we will call soccer, because it's played here in the States, we got a pair of girls and boys soccer championship games to show you. In the ladies' game, the South High Wolverines got the best of service 1-0 by capitalizing on a set piece. Here's Aaron Stewart's free kick, making it into the box, and Kayla Sims puts it in, and the defense would do the rest for the South High. 1 goal is all that's needed to win this championship. South will win this for the 3rd time in 4 years, but they do it with a newer group.
We have a pretty young team, so we knew we had to work hard and practice. We gave it our all the time, and we really wanted it this year.
Now on to the men's match. The Colony and Diamond Boys delivering a first ballot top 10 game of the year with the crown on the line. Now the game tied at regulations in, forcing extra time. Arnie Faunoff getting the most here out of his melon. Boom, into the goal. A tally giving Colony a 2-1 lead. But with less than 2 minutes remaining in extra time, Micah Ricard stunned the Knights with an equalizer. That goal forced 2 5-minute periods. But now here in a golden goal situation, first score wins. Colony senior Ben Atkinson will seize the moment. Get that man a cape, he's the hero. He scores the winning goal for the state championship. The Knights, the first Valley team to win a boys soccer crown since the year 2000.
It was nerve-wracking. It's really fun. They're a really good team, and so, they definitely picked it up right after we scored ours, and I could see their momentum gaining and everything like that, and it just kept for a really exciting game, and that was probably my most important goal in my history of playing soccer right there.
And for your sporting news headlines, girls high school hockey is being benched from the Anchorage School District's budget. Players learned the future of their sport on Wednesday afternoon after ASD says the program wasn't just popular enough and simply there weren't enough players playing. The school district says the 83 girls who participated in high school hockey this year weren't enough to keep the program going, and the district would not say how many students it would need to keep the program going. It's a decision players and parents didn't see coming.
It's a sad day for girls high school hockey and for athletics. I've had, 3 girls play through the high school program. They love their experience.
Here at ASD, we could see the writing on the wall and made the decision to move forward with dissolving this sport.
And in other news, athletic directors are often lightning rods for perceived failures. Assessing Dr. Steve Cobb's body of work at UAA requires a deep breath and a step back. Up until today's dismissal, Dr. Cobb had been the target of a huge outpouring of negative public opinion that crescendoed with a letter from Governor Sean Parnell himself to UAA President Pat Gamble requesting action over recent UAA-related headlines. Overall, it was the hockey performance and the lack of a hockey voice on the search committee to replace the head hockey coach. There was player abuse accusations and an NCAA investigation that ultimately led to Cobb's demise. Under Dr. Cobb, UAA produced 210 All-Americans, 15 conference championships, 9 West Region titles, and Chancellor Tom Case does applaud Dr. Cobb's efforts to get a 5,600-seat arena approved, albeit one that will not have ice. The Alaska Airlines Center will open next August. Over 2 years ago, Marco Chisetto lost one of his best friends to an apparent suicide. Then 9 months later, Chisetto went missing. In the midst of depression, Chisetto disappeared into the cold, and after 2 days out in Alaska's elements, Chisetto was able to find the strength to get help. He ended up losing both of his feet due to frostbite in what police describe as an attempted suicide. It was a dark time in his life, but as you will see in our next story, Chisetto has overcome his obstacles. Marco Chisetto is putting on a new look, one that's a complete overhaul of what he once was. Today he's finally comfortable in his own feet, ready to run the rest of his life a new man.
People who go through depression or mental illness, they would sometimes think maybe it's their fault to be that way. They don't understand it's just like any other illness.
An illness that Chisetto himself had to overcome.
There would be a tough time in life, but just hold on to it, and that time will go away.
Advice that Chisetto had to learn the hard way when he lost his feet to frostbite.
Since then, I have just been moving ahead without just thinking of or maybe trying to figure out what I should have done better.
With no regrets and no second thoughts, on Friday evening, Chisetto put on his new blades. Blades that he received less than a week ago.
Oh, it feels good.
Friday isn't about the training he went through for this race, because he had none. It's not about where this track star's legs can take him, because he doesn't have those either. Friday is about saying thank you to all those who showed compassion during Chisetto's darkest hour.
I think today is a time for everybody who have been praying for me would see the fruits of their prayers.
Here in Anchorage, it's not hard to find a fan of Chisetto's.
You can have 1 million people on the sidelines hoping and cheering, but without him actually doing it, I mean, like today in a race, you know, he could have all the help and the guidance and, you know, the support, but he's the only one that has to get him through this.
I am not very sure how I will do with them because, you know, these blades don't have a heel. So I will, you know, it has a tendency of pushing me back.
It's as Chisetto crosses the finish line that you know there's really nothing that can push him back. In the 6K, Chisetto was able to finish 28th out of 912 runners with a time of 26 minutes and 19 seconds. Yes, that means he beat a ton of people with no feet, but more importantly, Chisetto got back on life's horse and kept fighting. That's the show. Thanks for watching. Tune into our social media showcase. We got you covered on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Have a good night.